Talking with Nomo. Talking with Nomo. Step in the room, let's go. Got that spark, got that flow. Quick hit talk, real talk. Every word on the mark. Lean close, hear that name every time. Bring the flame, one more round. Let it show.
I have Miss Karen on the phone with me. Karen, tell them your last name because I can never pronounce it.
Onsager.
There you go. And Karen Onsager is the councilwoman for which seat?
We're in seat 5.
And you are running for re-election.
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, why don't you take a minute and tell the people a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the people that don't know at this point. How'd you get there? What have you done? And why are you running again?
Okay, thank you, Eric, for that opportunity. So I was appointed by then Mayor Susan Gibbs Thomas to the PZAB board, served on that board for a 2-year term. And when Susan vacated her seat, I went to the meetings and was given instructions, as we all were, on how to run for to fill that seat. I did that, and I was put in the seat with votes from the sitting council members.
Fantastic. So you were appointed to the seat, and now this will be your first re-election that you've got coming up.
Very first election ever. I'm not much of a politician, and I've never run for anything. So yeah, this will be the first time I've ever run for anything. So
well, you're going to feel like you're running for your life because there's nothing like running for office, man. I'll tell you what.
I'm seeing that, Eric. I'm seeing that. It's an interesting dynamic.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. What is it that you have accomplished in your term, and what is it that you are looking to do going forward?
Well, we don't accomplish anything on our own. It's an effort by everyone. Anytime we accomplish anything, but I think we've done a lot for the community in getting the sports stuff going, getting it a little bit more regulated. I know you're not for the whole sports thing, and I don't know enough about it to speak on that, but I know that we've headed in the right direction trying to get something formatted so that we can have a sports association, or at least something that is dedicated and heading in one direction rather than lots of different ideas that haven't ever gone anywhere. We've done that. We've gotten the some of the parks and recreation stuff done. And we've got a balanced budget and our debt paid off. So feeling pretty good about that. I'm running because I feel like it's important as a citizen to serve my community. I do live here. I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful river flowing by my house right now. We moved here in 2019. We lived out on the grade prior to that. So that felt like being a Indian Town member. But we've been here since 2019, and everything we've got's invested in this little community. We shop here, we live here, we know folks, and I just feel like it's important to try to give back to your community where you can.
Well, that sounds about right. I have to disagree with you on one thing. I am not against a sports program. Where I fall apart with what was presented to the council was having someone named as I'm not even sure what they said. They wanted to be the go-to or the
I guess exclusive. Yeah,
exclusive. I don't understand that because I know of a church group that's out there that is willing and has already done it in other municipalities to come out and work to help keep the fields in working condition. And I know that there are other people that are looking to put intramural softball together, leagues. So, I encourage the formation, and there's a woman I know, Miss Sally, that has 19 years of experience doing these types of things, and she's interested in doing it. She'd make a good Parks and Rec board member, by the way. But I just don't see having one group be the exclusive, and I don't see the government being the one that's really in control. The government's supposed to be the one that's providing the opportunity, and the people should be the ones fulfilling it. And there should be a separation between the two.
Yeah, Eric, that's one of the things that we went over before they got this group together to kind of put this uh, together so we could hear what they had. No decisions have been made, but we let them know that we would not be managing, dealing, being hands on with that sports association in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not sure of all the details, so I don't want to really speak on that. But what I was hoping to speak on this evening was some things that I've been listening to your interviews with other folks, and I think you're doing a great job. They're very entertaining, and I enjoy listening to them. And I came on
Thank you.
here tonight to answer a couple of questions that you had asked and that I don't feel like you got an answer to from my opponent. And by the way, I want to give kudos to Janet for getting her master's degree. That is a heck of an accomplishment, and I'm really proud of her. Um, but moving on from there, I wanted to talk to you tonight about how we got into this water, owning a water company. That's where I'd like to focus tonight, if it's okay with you.
Well,
So,
it's our time together. I just kind of want to talk with you and see. It's your opportunity to let people know what's going on. So that's all I'm trying to do is just put a platform out there and let everybody talk.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, we basically purchased a 75-year-old water plant back in 2019. That was originally a privately owned water plant, and it was way ahead of its time. It's amazing that was brought here when it was, and it ran quite well for quite a while, and then it kind of went into disrepair, and the money wasn't put back into it like it should have been. And it finally kind of got to the point where it was no longer doing what it needed to do for the community, and the owner decided to unload it. And the Public Service Commission regulates any private utility like that. And that particular water plant was not up to par with the Public Service Commission at the time of the sale. And so she had mentioned that a Carolina buyer was interested in it. And here's where she and I differ the most. I would have loved to have this privatized. I don't think the government is ever the right answer for running anything. And I think that a public utility or a private utility would have done much better and already been up and running. But now that we have it, and I want to go back over a little bit of how we got there. So when the seller realized that he was going to have to put about $4.5 million into it just to make a sale to a private investor, just to get it up to where the Public Service Commission would approve such a sale, he decided to reach out to Jupiter Island, who had been having a go with Martin County over some other utility rights and
Yep.
things that they really wanted to control, which I'm sure you're way more familiar with than I am.
Well, there was a lot of talk too. That actually ties back into the fair because they were trying to find a way to get the water service down citrus at a county level, and it was appealing to everybody at that point just to try to tie Indiantown in and into the Martin County municipal, but that was stopped. Before it even got to the council. That opportunity was stopped by an outside group of people that have economic interests in the area. And I do remember the Jupiter Island affair that took place as well. I was unaware that it was initiated by the seller, though.
Yeah, and that's what I found out is it was initiated by the seller, and I think he was pretty strategic with that. I think that he knew that the at the time the folks in office here would not have liked that. They were really not wanting to be controlled by anyone outside of the area. So I
Hmm.
think he knew strategically that that was going to promote a real uh, FOMO, fear of missing out, and
Hmm.
not to play on your name, by the way, but. So they yeah, he initiated that, and they started looking into it, and of course he needed a municipality to buy it because that kept the Public Service Commission from having him spend half the money he was going to get for it just to get it approved. And so that's when the board, I guess Mr. Brown was kind of running things as the village manager at that point in time. He was really into the idea of owning it, and he approached and said, this is something we need to do right away. We're going to miss out on this opportunity. And I guess hindsight, now that we've gotten into it, I guess at some point in time, I'm hoping it's going to turn out to be a good thing for the village. I try to
Well,
stay positive about that.
I want to ask you something because you've had an opportunity to sit in that chair now for 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and you and I have had even public discussions about how you rely upon staff to give you guidance and the answer, and that if it meets A, B, and C, you got to do it. Um,
No, that's a misconception. No, I don't think any of us feel like we have to do anything. I have voted no on things in the past, and I, I don't feel any pressure from staff whatsoever. So that's kind of a
Well,
misconception.
no, I'm not
They
saying necessarily pressure, but you have said to me in the past that, what am I supposed to do? Wade says, or staff says, or I
well,
have
I
to
think
listen to staff because we pay staff to tell us. And when anything comes in that's outside of that purview that staff, it seems like a convenient fallback is all I'm saying. And I'm not accusing you of doing it. I'm just saying back when Howard Brown was here, Howard Brown was a master manipulator, and I've documented a lot of this, and he did an excellent job of getting whoever was sitting at his desk and pushing his buttons at the time. So,
so.
I just
So I
anyway.
want to I want to set that straight. I don't feel like we are dependent on staff to make decisions. What we're doing is yes, we do listen to our legal counsel. That's just that's would be foolish not to do so. But we don't make decisions based just on what we try to take in everything from the presentations that we get. We have excellent people in our office right now. And I know you may not agree with that, but they're all doing their jobs and they've been a little vilified. But really, that's Dina is hired to bring in business. Taryn is an excellent manager. She absolutely has saved us from the mess that we were left with when Howard Brown stepped out. And, we're really lucky to have those folks. We had people that were getting ready to walk out the door if something didn't change. And, we've accomplished a lot with Taryn, and that's the staff that we have. And unfortunately, it's the government, and you know as well as I do that anything the government does takes longer than anything a private individual would do. And back to the water plant, that's part of the thing that once we did purchase the water plant for $8.5 million, then we were in. But what had happened is they had gotten an independent I have not seen the report, but I understand from talking to several people that they got an independent review of the water system that told them they needed $12 million to get it up and running. Well, that was grossly underestimated. And Janet spoke that Taryn, you know, didn't want Martin County to have anything to do with purchasing it. And she was correct because they had a review that said it was closer to 60 million at that point. And of course, with time going by and um, economic upheaval and the cost of everything rising, now we're looking at over $100 million to get everything we need to do done because there's just so much there that has to be repaired. And I know people are up in the air about the water not being where it needs to be, but it takes a long time to get everything back the way it should be, running the way it should be, and then work on the infrastructure. And we can only do a little at a time. And we have grant writers and people that are getting us money left and right, and we're really lucky to have all that. We're lucky to have the support of the state and our governor, and we've gotten a lot of grants, and we're just really in a good position. Is it going to take time? Is it going to be frustrating for folks? Yeah, it is, and we know that. But it's not like we're sitting here on our hands. We're all trying to get everything done as fast as we can. and we know what needs to be
Oh,
done.
I think there's a lot of people that'll agree with you on that, that things are getting done as fast as you can. What about the idea of stopping these conditional approved projects that are coming through? You know, we find all these reasons why we can do things. Why not reasons why we should be slowing down on the approved development? Because right now, as the last 2025 report that came out from the village showed, there are 4.5 million square feet of approved building that have taken place. To wit, most of them can't take place until your water plant comes online. I can't wait to see the dust bowl that's going to be created when that water plant comes online and all of these developers are turned loose to go and take
So
care of their development. I mean,
so we
I guess my question is, Karen, when is enough enough?
we pre-approved projects that have come through over the last several years in stages and phases, and Janet had said something about us not having the capacity. They don't issue permits without capacity, and if they do issue a pre-permit, it's with the understanding that capacity will be available when it's available, and we are collecting fees for those permits that go into the coffers and pay the bills.
Yeah, but
We're in a
you're
catch
approving,
22, Eric.
are you not approving projects based upon that it's approved up to the point that until the municipal water hookup is there. So everything's ready to go, but once the municipal water comes in, then you can start your permitting.
So for instance, let's just go with Terra. You know, they are doing it in phases, and she had stated on your show that there wasn't capacity. Well, that's not the case. They've not given out any permits yet for non-capacity. So we do have capacity for those things that have been permitted. And yes, I'm with you. I don't want to see overdevelopment, but at the same time, we've got to catch up. We're in a catch 22 situation where we have promised uh, a government, a village, to the folks that live in the village, and we have to provide those services that we promised. And the only one way to do that is to build the infrastructure and get tax revenue in. And I was one of the ones that, voted differently. You're saying that you feel like we always vote with with each other. I voted differently on the tax increase. Um, I wanted it leveled so that we didn't have a deficit. It would have been the equivalent of a cheeseburger Happy Meal for each of the residents for
Well,
the year.
let's talk about that a little back on the water side of things too. I think now that I mean, you seem to agree with us that the quality of that water is pretty much miserable, and we all know why. It's not a matter of saying it's your fault or it's Janet's fault or it's anybody else's fault. The
Oh,
fact
it's
of the
no one's
matter is,
fault. It's the
it's
fact of
no
the
one's
matter. It's
fault. The
old.
fact of it's old, and there are reasons for it. And
Correct.
when we look at that, though, when we have residents that you have residents, constituents that are trying to correct that at their own doorstep by going and putting in filtration systems, and they are having to pay a permit to improve the quality of their water. They're paying $2,000 and $3,000 for a home system so they can shower and do their dishes and laundry when they should be expecting a municipal source that they're paying for. Okay, and they're paying a good rate for that water when it's not coming in as something that's quality. So
And I
couldn't we?
100% agree with
Okay,
you on
so
that. And
could
so
we
that's
put?
one of the things that you are going to be seeing me bring up this next meeting about the about the permitting. Don't know what we can do completely
Well,
about it, but I definitely want something done to help the citizens
can't we
that
step?
were. Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm I'm sorry. I just can't we step it back to a $0 until such time that we're providing a good product?
That is a question I'm going to be asking.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
so that
glad to
is one
hear
of the
it.
questions that I've got on my agenda for this next meeting.
The other
I
thing that,
don't feel like we should be charging for permits for them to improve their own water.
if I'm
Um,
not mistaken, I don't think that the county does. And that's probably why some of these people have been putting them in and everyone's going, well, you're supposed to pull a permit. It's like I don't even think that the companies know.
oh, okay, that's interesting to hear. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
now this is what I've been told. I haven't taken the time to look
I
into
know
it, but
typically if it involves plumbing or electric, there is a permit
Yeah.
for safety reasons. Obviously, you want to make sure that it's put in correctly and that it's not going to end up burning somebody's house down. So, I can understand an inspection, but I am going to ask. You'll see that this week. I am
Good,
going to be asking about that. So
good
that's one of the
job.
things that I'm interested in. I want to get back to what you said about us voting as though we don't have any say so in it. Um, we get as much information as we can in the meetings, but none of us are able to sit. We don't know what anyone else is going to say or how anyone else is going to vote. We don't talk to each other. We're not allowed to because of sunshine laws. So we're not having conversations outside of those meetings. I've got no idea what any of my fellow folks in the council feel or are going to say. None whatsoever. And so when we get up there, we don't know if it's going to be a 5-0 or if it's going to be a 3-2 or what it's going to be until the vote is done. I make my mind up at the meetings about everything. I'm not one to take a personal opinion or my personal feelings into those meetings. I don't feel like having a predetermined answer is a good idea. I think that you've got to hear everything first and ask questions. And I ask a lot of questions. And I try to ask questions so I not only clarity for myself, but to bring out things that the public have asked me or have, shown concern about in their 3 minutes. I
How
do
ha-
want to say something to you about that too. When I was on the PCAB board, we had one time to speak, and so did the council. One time. You got to have your 3 minutes. We have added two more times since I've been on this board for people. Once for the agenda items, once for the non-agenda items, and then a latecomers 3 minutes. So we've added those, trying to let people have more time to speak. I know the 3 minute thing is frustrating, and occasionally it gets, you know, I love how we changed the format so that the color coding lets you know which one you're supposed to be doing, because I know a lot of people
Mhm.
got confused. They didn't know which one they were speaking on. Some folks don't realize that one is for just agenda items and one is for non-agenda items, and that gets confusing and frustrating. So we are trying to make it easier.
Well, I
Um,
think too, maybe if we looked at the structure a little bit, I'm not sure that 3 minutes is not enough time to stand up there and talk about anything that has any pertinent need to it. It's not doable. And when you go back and look at the ear workshop that we did over at the library, that format was a lot more relaxed, as it had to be by law. And that's the only reason I think that happened, because it's the only time I've seen this council do anything that opens themselves up to have dialogue of any kind with anybody in the public. And I think that's the frustration, is that you stand up there like I have, and I have brought you proposals. I have brought you gap analysis reports. I have brought you all kinds of information that is you've read it. It's not make believe stuff. It's real substantive information, and it doesn't go beyond that 3 minutes with or even a discussion of consideration. So
Well, that's not, now let's be fair, that's not the case. I have, every time you've brought something to me, I have brought it up in discussion and tried to get you some answers.
most of the time, most of it, I
Yeah,
will.
you
I
got to give
look.
me a
I'm going
little
to give
credit
you
where
no.
credit's
I
due.
am going to give you credit on that, and I'm going to give you another piece of credit, and that is the fact that you are the only of the three that are incumbents that have sat down with me to even talk about these things. So
Well, I
I
think that a
respect. I
lot of the,
respect that.
thank you so much. I think a lot of what you bring to us is very significant and with things that we need to deal with. I think you and I just have a different way of going about it. You're the 300-pound gorilla in the room, and you've admitted that, and I'm a little bit more of a let's sit back and see what the facts are and let's try to put this together. But I will always ask the questions and try to get those questions answered. I have driven Wade nuts on the questions you've sent me, because I meet him before the meeting and say, why can't we do this? Why don't we do that? And he shows me legally where things are. And there's just, that's
Yeah,
where we are.
I get that with him, but the other thing is when you look at the statute that he talks about, when you if you have read it yourself and you've done any analysis on it, you can tell when Wade takes a sharp turn one way or the other because especially at a fork in the road or a Y, when there's other decisions that could potentially be made
Well,
that don't fit the narrative of what's going on with outside
I
you
don't
know,
think people realize that this is not a SB 180 is not popular for us. We are not. Wade's not happy about it. No one's happy about it. Nobody likes SB 180. We have people that go up to the state for us and say this is limiting our abilities. So
yeah,
so
I get
we are
that.
all waiting for the
Okay.
hurricane season to pass.
I get that with your LDRs. Your LDRs are a whole different topic. Those absolutely stink, and I get the way
And
that
I'm
you
gonna
can't.
get
I
back
get the,
to
but
you
wait,
on that.
I can't wait. Hang on, you got to hear me out because I want to
Okay.
finish on this one thing here, and and this is how Wade kind of takes one turn instead of going the other way as well and saying you have two ways that you can go. He steers you guys in a direction that seems to come from the same places that Taryn and Dina seem to be getting their motivation to move things. But for instance, on this 180, SB 484, okay, gives explicit language in intent and the separation to allow you to supersede 180. There are places like Citrus County that are now putting in a moratorium against data centers that are currently under 180. 180 didn't prevent them from doing it. They found a way around
That
it, but now Wade says
that
you
is
can't do it.
another thing that I'm bringing up Thursday. I'm gonna ask how that's possible, how it's being done. That's the second thing that you've mentioned tonight that I already have on my agenda. Ask
So,
them.
so with 484 says, look, we have now created this new pyramid. I mean, the structures that they're talking about building 2.5 million, 3 million square feet. Some of them outside of the proposals from here are up to 11 to 20 million square feet. These are things that have never been built on planet Earth before, and if the larger cities that have been dealing with them are blindsided by it, little old Indian town's in a lot of trouble, and your LDRs are in so much trouble that SB 484 said, guess what? We're going to let you create a whole new zoning category for these new types of buildings. 180 says you can't make anything more restrictive. New is not more restrictive. New is the first set that you put in place. And if you put that set in place before 180 goes out of effect because of the last emergency order, then that set stays in place. So you have to set the first ones in cement. And that is dragging its feet, and we all know why it's dragging its feet. This town has turned into a sugar city, a sugar town, like Clewiston did with Big Sugar. You are now an FP&L controlled town. They are more than 85% of your revenue now, and what they say goes. I mean, that's just that's a
Well,
hard economic reality.
economically, yes, well, they're 80, a little over 85% of our income. That is true, but they don't push us. One of the things that you had, I'm going to get back to some of the things I wanted to address. You talked about the community advisory board. Janet and Howard were two of the people that collapsed those community advisory boards. And Susan was the only one that wanted to keep it. So I'm wondering, why we can't get any answers as to why those community advisory boards were collapsed. And I would like to see community advisory board reasserted. I think that's a very important thing. And you brought up the meeting that we had, the ears meeting. I loved that format where we could actually have conversations. Obviously, the meeting, the 3 minutes, is because sometimes we have 30 folks that want to speak, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we have three. And
Mm-hmm.
it's got to have some sort of a limit. But if anybody wants to send me questions and get them to me, I've never had anybody do that. Why not? Why not send me your questions so that I can ask them?
Well, I think that whoever gets into office is going to start seeing more participation because a lot of the participation that's been taking place has been from outside interest. Not that it is wrong to influence the way people are thinking or to meet with somebody on a weekly basis to go over, hey, here are the projects that we've got coming in. But there are so many overlaying pieces that are in place with the Economic Council of Indiantown and some of the people that you have as consultants, etc., that you've heard the stories and you know where they're at. And it
You find a lot more conspiracy in all this than I do. I mean, to be
well,
honest
it's
with you,
illegal.
I look
It's
at it.
wait, it's illegal. There's some illegalities that are taking place under Florida Statute 112, like with Scott and with what Williamson. Okay, they should not be in the position that they're in, holding the other positions that they have, knowing the influence that's taking place from the Economic Council of Indiantown. Anyway, I want to
We
remember, hang on one second, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But we have about 7 minutes left. I use the free version of Zoom because I
Yeah,
don't
you
get
talk.
paid for this.
I
So
know you do. I know you do.
it's 40 minutes and we're running short on time. Now we can do a second one if you want to.
Sure.
I'm
I
happy to
like
do a
to.
third too, but go ahead. We've got about another, I would
I,
say we've got another 5 to 7 minutes easy. So let it rip.
okay, so I want to kind of go back to the water plant and assure people that you guys, we are really open on what's going on over there. Um, we have had offers for anyone who wants to see what's going on over there to come see it. I would encourage that. I want your listeners to know I have never been offered an NDA for anything. I've never signed an NDA on anything. And Janet had said that she felt pressure from day one when she was first elected. And I've not had that situation. I've not had anyone come and try to get me to vote any particular way. I've seen no pressure. I'd kind of like to know if that pressure would still exist for her, if those people that were, or those folks that were pressuring her gone. I'd kind of like to know about that. I had some questions when she said that. Who is it that's pressuring her, and how did that pressure affect her first, uh, votes on that seat?
Mhm. Well,
Because
let me
I would
on that.
immediately, I would immediately ethically not allow someone to pressure me, and I'd out them.
Oh
I
yeah,
got
yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest
No,
with you.
I asked Janet about that too. And the question I would have for you though is do you have people that meet with you on a weekly, bi-weekly basis just to
No,
come in and they don't schedule meetings with you
nope.
just to come in and talk with you?
Nope, I've never had a meeting with, in a way, and I'm disappointed in some ways that my constituency hasn't utilized my seat more. I've asked folks to bring me questions. You're the only one. And then Melissa, who you had on, she's
Mm-hmm.
sent me some things, and you're the only two since I've been on that seat.
Well,
After I've asked over and over again and said over and over again, if you've got questions, bring them to me. Let me get the answers for you. But no, I've never had anybody call me for a meeting other than we had a meeting with these fellas from, I think it was Wisconsin, that were talking about bringing some acreage in. It never went anywhere. I never heard back from them. I don't know what happened to that, if they're
gotcha.
still trying to annex. It was a simple, hey, we'd like to be part of Indiantown. What would you think would be best for us to do? And I'll be honest with you, I recommended the ranch properties. I know I don't. I've heard rumors that they were looking at doing something else, but I recommended that they do Florida cracker houses on 5 acre developments and do a ranch property homestead kind of thing and promote some of that kind of housing rather than your side by sides.
Is this the
So
annex that you're talking about that they're looking at putting in up there across from Silver Fox?
I do not know where.
Oh,
I
okay.
know the
All right.
property is on the right hand side going out towards Okeechobee. I know the property's over there, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. I know where
contiguous. I
you're
think
at.
it's like 600 acres, but we never got into the weeds of it. They just asked me what I thought would be beneficial to the community,
Mhm.
and that's what I told them. I don't know if they like that answer or not.
How much of
But
what you put in or another council person puts in actually makes it to the agenda, and how much is staff driven?
Our agendas are, I mean, we sometimes I see things that are put in by the council, but for the most part, it's staff driven because
Yeah.
it's things that have come through that need approval, or, there's a lot to those things. You can't just throw something on the agenda. If you'll remember, I wanted to get you in so
Hmm.
that you had more time to make a presentation, and I couldn't get you on that agenda because they had other things in there, and they've got timelines, and they've got dates that they've got to advertise these things. It's pretty set in stone when you have to do things. So, but I think that if we bring something up that's important to us, they do put it on there. We get to it eventually, but it's government and it takes time.
Right. Right. Okay. Well,
So I just want people to know that I listen and that I'm here to listen to them, and that I have been saying for 2 years, you've got questions, bring them to me. Let me know what they are. You may only have 3 minutes, but there's a way of going about things. And I think we all need to be kind of on the same cheerleading team for Indiantown success. I think it's important and I'm not saying put your head in the sand and act like there aren't problems, but I'm saying go at the problems from the point of view of not them against us or us against them. But hey, we all live here. We all want what's best for the community in the long run. And we just need to really work together.
okay,
And so,
real quick, before we run out of time, I'm with you on that. I want you to tell, because I'm looking at the time up here. We're down to like almost 4 minutes, but tell people where they can get in touch with you. Do you have a campaign website?
I do not
And
have a campaign website. I'm Best of Indiantown on Facebook. I'm not doing a website. I want people to call and talk to me. I'm old fashioned. I like one-on-one conversations and group conversations.
all right,
I'm going to be holding a meeting at the library on the 27th of June from 1 to 2 p.m. That was the slot that we could get. And I'm going to be doing others. And if somebody wants to have me come, they can reach me on my cell phone number, which is 772-678-8430. Best thing to do if you're going to reach out to me is text me first so I know who it is, because I don't answer unknown calls a lot. But I'd love to speak to anybody that has questions and anybody that would like for me to get answers for them. I think I would love, and I hope you're correct, that we'll see more participation in the future. I think that's fantastic. We love to see the room full, even though, sometimes it's a little contrary. We still would rather have you there than not have you there. And I just want to set one thing straight real quick. There's nobody making any extra money. There's nobody put line in anybody's pockets. That's all ridiculous. We we
all
we, we barely make enough to make it worth putting up with this, to be honest with you. But
right.
we're all up there trying to do what's best for the community. I don't think there's anyone there that doesn't care. And give us some grace. We're new at this, just like the
No,
first
I
the,
just
the first one was. Running a government is not something you or anybody else has done your whole life. And if there's anybody in town that has, please step up and help out. But you know, we we're doing our best with what we know how to do, and we're trying to ask the questions so we can learn to do it better.
All right. Well, I guess I agree to disagree with you only in the fact that I think that you are doing the best with the way that you want it to go. And I just think that the vision that the council has and the vision that the people have are not in alignment, and that it seems that outside development interests are driving the agenda more than the people. But we can talk about that later. When you come back, can we talk more about all of these changes that took place in the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that sounds
Fantastic.
that sounds fine. I'll pull some of those up and have some information for you. But here's the thing. Um, we're not trying to drive an agenda in any particular
I would hope
direction.
that you are. It's in the
No,
comprehensive plan. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
we're trying to make sure that we can have the things that the village needs, the roads, the water, all of those things. We got to pay for those. We got to make sure we have money coming in. We've got to make sure that we have finances that are great. And by the way, I wanted to let you know that our finances. You had made a comment about us being bankrupt a couple podcasts back, and in reality, that's not the case at all. We've got quite a bit of reserves, and our bills are all paid. So we're on budget. We're sticking to that budget. We've even got some reserves built into the budget, and we're doing a fantastic job with the money. Yeah, that's another thing.
Okay.
If anybody wants to know, anything about that, let them get in there and talk to Michael. He'll tell you exactly what's going on. And if you can't get with him, I'll get with you. I just know that we the general fund is in great shape. We obviously have some things for the water fund, the utilities fund that we've
We're
got
less
borrowed.
than
But
30 seconds, Karen. We're less than 30 seconds.
all right, well,
All
thank
right.
you, Eric, for the
I can tell you're
opportunity.
fired up. I can tell you believe in what you're saying. We're going to get together on another one. You get back from vacation, give me a shout. Let's do another sit down, figure out where we're at. We'll catch up. Fair
All
enough?
right, thank you so much, Eric.
All right. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.
Talking with Nomo. Talking with Nomo. Step in the room, let's go. Got that spark, got that flow. Quick hit talk, real talk. Every word on the mark. Lean close, hear that name every time.